Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to a random video. As you can see from the title, today I'm going to show you how I made my song Atlantis. Interestingly enough, this is actually my favorite own song yet. You know, I haven't released anything that has been as special as this one. With this song, what I wanted to do was to basically make the listener feel as if they were in Atlantis. So yeah, I mean, the idea for this was to make you feel nostalgic, a sort of mystical aspect to it, because if you read about Atlantis, most of what you're going to read is that it was a very mystical and special place. So I wanted to make a song that would really represent the image of Atlantis. So yeah, I don't want to go too deep on this. So let's just go into FL Studio and show you how I did everything. I'm now here in FL Studio, and the first thing that I started with was actually the chords. I actually opened up a piano. Most of the times when I'm starting a song, I open a piano and just play chords, find chords, and on top of the chords, then I can write a melody. But this time I started with chords and they sounded like this. I think the piano is from Contact. I had to render most of this stuff because it was just too heavy for my computer. So my bad if I can show you the presets and everything. It's just because I couldn't. You know, my computer was dying, so I had to close everything down. After adding the piano chords, I've added the actual chords, of which you can hear during the whole song, and they sound like this. And that's it. That's basically it. This is very simple chords, and I had to render it as well because it was just eating up my PC. So when I render it, it sounded like this, and I actually added a filter so it could go from low pass to very wide open. So it sounds like this. You can hear the sensation here. And it just keeps on opening. You can also hear a couple effects there that takes the chords out. And if you actually listen to the song, you can barely hear this. You know, this is just like background, just adding ambience. So with the piano and the chords, it started, you know, getting some more body. So after these two sounds, I didn't know what rhythm I wanted for the breakdown. I wasn't sure if I was going to keep the rhythm of the piano or whatever I was going to do, but I ended up doing a bass line at just 1/16th, you know? Dum 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 dum, you know? So it sounded like this. And then on the second part of the breakdown, I added another bass line that sounds like this. This one's just a little bit more open, and it goes from side to side. So when you play this together, it sounds a little bit bigger. It gives a bigger image on the second part of the breakdown. The way I like to see breakdowns is a deconstruction of the drop, but also be inside the breakdown. I like to think about as a sort of drop, you know. So over here, you can think about it as a build up, and then the breakdown drop comes in, and it sounds like this. Way more opened, right? Obviously not just with two basses, but you get the idea. Hopefully he's just progressing, right? So after the piano and the pad were there, all of them sounded like this. So I was like, you know, I feel like maybe I could add those piano chords and those piano chord progression and make it at the same rhythm of the bass line. And I did. And I added something that sounded like this. That's just one layer. And I put everything together and it sounded gorgeous. You know, I fell in love instantly. And I was like, okay. It actually felt like it was completely doing the purpose which I intended. You know, make you feel like you were in Atlantis. So with the chords, it sounded like this. I still felt though that these chords were just too too weak. So I added another layer for chords, and it sounded like they sounded like this with way more body. So it really helped these chords out. Actually, let me just play one of them, and then I play the other one. It really adds up. So I ended up adding that, and with the bass line, and we had the piano, then the chord. That makes it, at that point, I knew I was on the right path. You know, at that point, I knew I was doing the right thing. But that wasn't quite there yet. So I figured I needed something that could just make the song feel a little bit even more mystical. So I decided to add some background strings, just because strings are always great for making it sound more real and more, more special. They added something. They have something special. So I added strings in the background, add the same rhythm of the chords, with a lot of reverb, so they could be pulled all the way to the back. Once I added that, I felt like it really added something, but I still felt like the song needed some sort of more, it needed more special aspects, more something, right? So I added a thing that sounds like someone screaming or crying, and I added a vocal that sounded like a very distorted vocal that sounded like someone crying, and it sounds like this. And I cut it here because it sounded horrible as soon as the thing dropped. But if you play this with the chords, with the piano chords, this sounds like this. It sounds like this. So at that point, when I added this thing, everything exploded. My head exploded. I was like, this is it. This is it, right? Second part of the breakdown, I actually added it 1 octave higher. And that's pretty much what I did. I did all of these in the piano roll, but like I've said, I had to consolidate just because it was just too heavy for my computer to handle it. So after I did this, everything was sounding perfect. But there was something that I needed. And remember that music is not just about having the right melody, but also having the right rhythm. So for the breakdown, I added some claps that would add some rhythm. And we can see them down here, very far down. They are just going like they would in the drop, and they sound like this. Very simple. And in the second part of the breakdown, I added another drum loop, a ride, and it's just. And again, these rides are going left, right, left, right, left, right, just creating. It makes your brain go crazy because there's just so many stimulus happening that sound good. Obviously, you don't want to overdo this kind of stuff. So these are just little aspects that you do, little things that you do that will add ear candy, as they call it, as they like to call it. Besides those drums, I also added this was just something I was hearing during the whole song. Just ding, 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 ding. And I was like, I have to write that down. So after that, after just everything, pretty much everything, all the things that I added, I also added more drums. I added claps, more claps. Makes it sound huge, way more festival-ish. After that, after the drums, I added a ambience, which sounds like fireplace. Then I added this thing, which is, I don't know. Is it shaker? Just simple ones. And I mean, if Atlantis existed right now, I guess they would play the shakers. I don't know. But then I've got some cinematic drums from Kashmir. And just doing the same rhythm over and over again. For this drums, I mean, for most of the drums, all I did was remove the lows. But for this drums, I actually added a vocal rider because I felt like some of the sounds were just too loud compared to the other ones. So with vocal rider, I used it on drums. It basically made sure that everything was just playing at the same volume, as you can see here. Which, yeah, that's what I said by when I say breaking the rules, it just means if it's a vocal rider, it doesn't mean you just have to use it for vocals, you know. But either way, then I added this Kashmir loop, which sounds like this. I changed some of the note. I actually changed a lot of the notes so it could go with my song, and I changed the root note. I think it's an E initially, but I made it G. It was also at 115 BPM, but I made it at 128. So I changed some of the things. I changed, I think, around here and around here, most of the times at the end, and it sounds like this. And then for the build-up, I cut some of the parts and I made it just completely different offbeat rhythm with a different melody that would just serve the purpose of accompanying the chords. And it just made something extra, you know? It wasn't just the same loop over and over again. So let's play everything together, I guess. This is how the breakdown ended up sounded like. The ending of this chorus are just so good. Then for the second part of the build up, for the second part of the break, it sounded like this. Like I said, this is like the drop part of the breakdown. So now, this has more frequencies, this has more things happening, and this part was just a simple one. So let's compare these two. First part of the breakdown. Second part of the breakdown. You know, a lot more things are happening, which make a good breakdown good, you know? Then for the transition to the build-up, I added a lot of automations. I can actually make a video about automations if you guys really want me to go in depth on how I apply automation and why I apply it and why you should also apply it. And then we got the build-up, simple build-up, just risers, right, downlifter, another riser, another riser, another riser, another riser. And then I got the infamous sub drop. I mean, if you're not using these on build-ups, I don't know why you're not. You should. It really, really helps just dragging tension and just, it's really good. Then I added a long drum. Then I added some snares on top of the other ones. Very simple ones, but I felt like it needed it. So both together. And even these things are actually being automated. So actually, I mean, if you see any pro making music, everything is automated. Everything. There's like automations are, I guess I could say 60% of your mix downs. So yeah. Then for the fills, I have one sound that sounds like this. Another one sounds like this. Another one sounds like this. Another one sounds like this. And another one that sounds like this. So if you play everything all the sounds, it ended up creating this very good one. I actually like it a lot. And all I did was use a combination of different ones, different sounds, you know, and also automating stuff. You know, I automated this one just because it started like crazy. So I wanted it to go from down to up. And after that, I mean, the song was pretty much there already. Oh, for the build up, I also added part of the job, you know, part of the job, which was the melody. And I also added the bass line around there. I'm pretty sure it's around there. Yeah, around here. You can actually see it here. All I did was consolidate, and then I added my own effects, my own filters for this part of the song, which was just this. Everything is filtered, both the drop leads and the bass line. It sounds distorted, I know, but with everything else, it didn't. It's just when I played it alone, I don't know why, but the build up ended up sound like this. My computer is dying. My computer is dying. Oh, because I had 250 buffer. So my FL Studio crashed, but now we can go to the job. In the job, all I did was make the chords, which I initially made on the piano, in different synths. So I made a layer of synths that actually sound like this. Let's play it. Here's the first sound. Here's the second sound. And here's the third sound. As you can see, one of them is pointed to the right and the other one's panned to the left. Both create a very wide sound. And this one just makes sure that there's some mid information, you know. They all go to one bus, which actually this mixer is too big. They all go to one bus, which only has a EQ just to make sure there's no lows, and a clipper, and that's pretty much it. I was still using J Clipper, but I don't use J Clipper anymore. And for this things, all I did was add distortion, OTT, reverb, and sidechain. That's it. Sidechain, just getting rid of some of the highs, getting rid of the lows, and a Camel Crusher to just distort it. I actually used Dimension Expander for this one to make it wider because it's very easy to use. And that's it, just getting rid of the lows, and Endless Smiles just for the transitions, but chords sounded like this. And then I added the bass line, which initially was at the same rhythm of the bass line of the chords, which initially was following this, you know, dun dun. But something came to my mind, and I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to make it easy for me, so I made a melody that was just bass line that was a counter melody to the bass to the chords. So it sounded like this. And I also made one of the notes go up, you know, because if you have both down, it sounds like this. It's just boring, you know, it's not bouncy anymore. In this case, I don't have any slides as I would normally do, you know. You can have a note here, for example, and just make it slide. In this case, I didn't want any, you know, I just wanted it there at the same rhythm of the kick. So the kick sounds like this. And I have a layer of claps on top. Then I have more claps in there. And then I have more claps in there. And then I added the white noise, which is just a sample, and then I just put a volume here. It's actually super loud. And you can see it here. It's at the same volume of the claps, but it worked. You know, I wanted it that way, I guess. Then I added the melody, which, yeah, it's just a very interesting melody. Let me open it up. It sounds like this. And for those of you asking, yes, the last note, it's actually a glide note with a off. It's just an off, you know, this note is off. It's not on line. It's not on grid, you know, it's not here. It's not here. It's just off beat. You know, it's weird. So it makes the note sound like a ravic or something. It sounds like this. You know, it's weird, but when I added it, it just added that something I was looking for. Again, to fill up that intention, you know, to make people feel nostalgic, to make people feel something beyond their comprehension. So the melody looks like this. And it's, I mean, what's cool about this melody is that, first of all, it has glides. Yes, it does. I actually have an automation here, which you can see creates glides. It's not just inside here, but second, most important thing is the length of the notes. If you're not playing around with the length of the notes on your melody, then your melody is going to sound very static, you know, very boring. So my tip is to create different length on different notes, depending on what you want the listener to feel. So if we play this, you can see that these two notes are longer than these two, and they make a completely different type of feeling, you know, so. And again, another very important thing when you're making melodies, to keep in mind that you have to keep structure. So this is the same as this, but they're not the same notes. They have the same structure though. If you can see, one starts here, one starts here, one starts here, one starts here, and so forth for this one as well. You know, they have the same structure. And even if you use this one, you can see the structure here, even though they don't have the same melody. So if you've been struggling with making melodies, this is what you want. You want to create and keep a structure for your melodies. And for this is actually just one lead on Inspired. Sounds like this. It's almost vocalish, you know. And this sound is going through a distortion. So here, distortion, very hard distortion. And then a Oxford inflator. This is just an upwards compression. So it's just making it sound louder. And then I have an EQ, which I'm just boosting some of the highs. Then I have Stair Shaper, which is making it wider. And then I have a sidechain, and that's basically it for every single sound, literally. Trust me, I just add distortion, EQ, and that's it. For this layer though, I have like 10 sounds. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 actually. For this one, I have a layer that sounds like this. Another one sounds like this. Another one that sounds like this. This is actually a bass, you know. And this one here, they sound like shit just because they're very low in octaves, but when you put them up, they sound good. And I also have a shot. And again, even if I'm showing you and you go and download these, trust me, it's all about how you use sounds. You don't have to use these presets. Don't break your head trying to find these. It's not about that. It's about everything I've talked about before. The length of your notes, the EQ that you do to them, the way you mix them, it's everything. The melody, you know, because every melody doesn't work for every kind of sound. So you got to really learn and just put your time into it. Anyways, the melody sounded like this. As you can see, I have an endless smile automating all the reverb. So it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And that makes it, and that makes Atlantis it, you know. Second part of the drop, I have some rides, then I have some hi-hats, and then a hi-hat, very 90s-ish. And that's pretty much for the song. Honestly, hopefully you understand the point of this. And the point is that you have to have an intention. And if real art has intention, if you can make someone feel what you intended to, or share that intention properly, then you're doing it right. That's it for this song. Again, like I've said, if you guys want me to talk about more automation, I can go into it for sure. There's some things that I didn't just talk about on this video simply because I've talked about in all my other videos so many times. So it's just a waste of time to me keep on repeating the same things over and over again. I want to bring you guys new content, new stuff, you know. Then on my master, I have Ozone. Actually, this instance I used Ozone, but just for the equalizer to make, you know, the cleaner, the white noise version. If you haven't seen that trick, make sure to go check it on my channel. And then I have some more, you know, EQ, more EQ, and then I have an imager, which is just making all those mono at 111 hertz. And yeah, besides that, I have another EQ, which is making, again, the lows mono, and some of the highs a little bit wider. Besides that, I have a sausage fatter at 1%, and that's pretty much it for my mixdown. For my master, I mean. All this master is doing is just enhancing whatever I already did on the mixdown. Again, most of my mixdowns are what's important about my music, not really my masters. So that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you guys found it interesting. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. If you learned something, let me know in the comments. I would love to know what you learned. Make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed it, and make sure to share with your friends if you find it useful. Again, I would appreciate you if you subscribed. I'll see you guys later in another video. Take care. Bye-bye.